Hey there everybody, I'm going to teach you today how to load a saw blade into a jeweler saw frame. So we're working with German jeweler saw frames, and ours are 4 inches, which means it can accommodate cutting a 4-inch piece of metal or material. And each saw frame, no matter what size it is or style, it's going to have 3 positions. And you load them in the order that they're numbered. So position 1 is up at the top, position 2 is at the back, and position 3 is always going to be directly above the handle. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to hold my saw in my right hand. Okay, when you load these, they're going to be tension loaded, which means you do have to put a little bit of pressure behind them to get them loaded. So you'll see me kind of stand up and sit down as I need to. Our saw blades, or the packages you guys are going to get, come like this. Okay, and it is actually, open this guy up. It's a series of 12 blades, and they're just held together by a tiny piece of wire. So you can kind of see that wire on there. Anyways, you're gonna have to unwrap those, and then you'll have 12 individual blades. The blades are pretty tiny, so they're tiny but mighty though. They do, see, tiny, itty bitty, tiny but mighty. They do cut through copper. So we were gonna use it to cut through sheet copper or rolled out flat pieces. First, you need to decide which direction your blade gets loaded in. So it's going to be loaded, your blades should face outwards, so not towards the back where position 2 is, but towards the front, the opening, because you're going to saw this direction. And then each blade does have a point and a horizontal part. So a really up close version of these, it looks like this. Okay, you want the horizontal part to be down and the points facing outwards. So I'm going to have my horizontal parts this way and the points facing outwards, or the direction I'm going to cut. Okay, these are tiny blades, so if you can't see them, first of all, probably get your eyes checked, right? Because I can't see them, and I have glasses, and I also have contacts in. So sometimes I do wear both. But if you can't tell, you can always hold it up to the light. It makes it a little bit easier for you to see. So I now have my blades facing outwards and down, okay? I'm gonna first load position 1. So on my frame, I'm gonna open up position 1, and then you can kind of see in between there, if I pull those apart a little bit as I loosen that wing nut, there's a space, really tiny, in between these 2 plates for my blade to live. There's a few key points. You don't ever want it all the way at the top, and you don't ever want it resting on the little bolts in there, because when we put tension on them, if it's resting on those parts, it's going to snap your blade when you touch it to the metal. So it puts pressure there, and extra pressure is not needed. But I just kind of hold mine against me, make sure I have my blade right, load it into position 1. So hopefully you guys can, kind of see that. So I'm loading it into position 1. It's not all the way at the top. It's kind of floating in between there. Then just tighten that sucker down. Before you move forward, so I know it's hard to see, so you'll kind of see me hold a piece of paper behind it. Right now my blade is kind of cockeyed. It's facing position 2, and you really want it to be facing the bottom, like straight up and down. So I'm just gonna loosen that and then adjust it so that my blade's straight. Loosening it, my blade, I'm gonna adjust it so that it's straight. Remember, you don't want it touching that little nut, and you don't want it touching the top. So that is a lot better, straight up and down. Next, I'm gonna adjust position 2, which is right here at the back, until my saw blade just barely touches position 3. So position 2 gets loaded, or sized rather, just to barely touch. And it does change a little bit as you tighten your wing nut, but just as long as it's really close. So kind of see here now, my saw blade is just barely touching position 3, okay? So this is where the tension comes into play. So now I'm actually gonna stand up so I have a little bit more leverage over my, my saw frame, because you do have to put some pressure behind it. This little notchy guy up here at the top works really well to just kind of rest on your table. So I'm gonna pull you a little closer here now so you can actually see me load it. I know it's tough, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, with my left hand now, so I'm right-handed, with my left hand, I'm gonna put the pressure, so you see me lean in a little bit. And then with my right hand, I'm gonna guide my blade in between those two parts and tighten it down, okay? If you've loaded it properly, sorry, now you're really close to me. If you've loaded it properly, you should hear a high-pitched ping, okay? Ping, ping. If, I'm gonna loosen it now, I'm gonna load it, but not quite as tight so you can hear the difference. Thud, thud, thud. That does not have enough tension on it. You would need to, everything else is fine. It's just position 3. So you loosen it, put more tension on it, put it back in. Okay? Awesome. If your blade also keeps popping out of there, doesn't hold the tension tight, some of these are used and abused, and so you might just need a whole new saw frame. So if that's happening to you, just put that one aside and go grab a fresh one. Don't frustrate yourself.